back to Power 97.5 LA, iHeartRadio, iGlobal Media, the JS Journals. Today, I'm so excited because this conversation is really where culture and conversations are going to collide. Today's guest is an artist who embodies
Mm.
what happens when purpose meets discipline, and when politics meet poetry, and when the stage becomes a mirror of a megaphone. I want
Mm.
everybody to put their hands together for the amazing and the creative Biko Eisen Martin.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Woo! Before we get started, number one, I just want to say I'm so happy just to see all that you have done, all that you are going to do, and really as who you are and what you stand for, because it means so much, and it's really a lot of things that a lot of people don't even know that we're going to discuss today. But before we get started, we're at the end of the year. I just want to know, how are you? How has this year been for you? And also, most important, how is your heart?
Thank you for asking. I think I, like everybody in the world right now, is, really watching what's going on in the world,
Yeah.
terrified. Uh, just to be frank, we have a government right now that is not serving the people. We have people suffering globally. We have a global disconnect
Mm.
that, I think, when people think about globalization, all they think about is trade and commerce and how can we profit, but nobody's thinking about how can we actually utilize and spread resources in a more equal and communal way globally. It's like we have this internet, we have all these modes of travel. If you want a certain kind of candy, you can have it at your door. You can have some,
Hmm.
what is this, Dubai
Yeah, the
chocolate,
Dubai time.
right? That you can have it at your doorstep in an
Yeah.
hour, but yet, we look at what's going on in Sudan or something like that, or and people who actually pick the cocoa that makes our chocolate that have
Mm.
never seen a chocolate bar in their life, right?
Mm. Hmm.
And so what is that disconnect that we can be amongst such privilege and just turn such a blind eye to people suffering, and not see that suffering is actually our own suffering.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King said it, when you allow the evil to happen over here, it's just a matter of time
Yep.
before it comes to you.
Absolutely.
So I think I'm kind of bracing myself for the shock yet to come to this country, because there is a reckoning, and that you know, I as a black man am not gonna claim credit for any of the misery that this country perpetuates on anybody, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm also in the belly of the beast, so we catch the strays from that, regardless, because they put us on the front line. I think the people in power do a very good job of insulating themselves, right?
Mm.
But I mean, how am I doing? So that's part of how I'm doing. I'm also feeling great. Table 17 in LA has just been such a privilege, such a love fest, such
Yeah.
a beautiful communal experience. I feel like I've gotten to be embraced by Black Hollywood and in a way that's just so beautiful, just to be greeted with so much love, and after every show to get that
Mm.
love and confirmation, and to see people buzzing about the show. I was walking around Inglewood the other day, and somebody just screamed out their car window, "Table 17, table 17." So I was like, "Oh, we're in the building,"
You're in
so
the building.
that feels amazing right now. That's definitely lifting me up for sure. Just getting those kind of confirmations and blessings, and being able to provide some blessings for people who, want to have a good night out and
Yeah.
feel something and see something spectacular.
Well, and I'll say this, I had the opportunity to see you guys during an amazing time with some other creators. And I had a front row seat just to kind of see you in person with the interaction with the audience,
Mhm.
and with the culture, the interaction with your castmates. And I think, I will stand on the back of so many other people to say that congratulations.
Thank you.
It is definitely a labor of love. It was what was needed to add on to another layer of culture here in LA. Like you, I am from the East Coast, but you coming from San Francisco, I think for me it was an eye opener because we also want to see a lot of us in these films and theaters, and I'm a huge advocate of theater, but I always like to start from the beginning. And with you, San Francisco, you grew up
Mhm.
surrounded by art. And if you guys didn't hear anything that he just said, activism as well. And I always like to say you grew up around revolution.
Hmm.
Um, a mother, shout out to the moms, but a mother who raised you not to just survive, but also raised you on how to speak, how to move,
Hmm.
but also how to resist. Um, how did that household in that time, how did the household in that time kind of shape your sense of identity? But also not just as an artist, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
as a black boy navigating a country, as you
Hmm.
eloquently said, we have all said in this colorful times, in a country that often kind of fears the very thing you were taught to love your voice.
Yes, yes. I mean, oh, I'm getting chills. Just that, my mama was like, just no to the BS. I mean, and even just to even part of the acting journey. I wasn't allowed to watch GI Joe or the cartoons. If there were no black leads in it, I wasn't allowed to watch it.
Right, right,
So I wasn't watching GI Joe, but I could go see Mo Better Blues or
right.
something. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna get you, sucker, and all of that.
Yeah, yeah, you know what I mean. So, well, we had that on VHS. That had been out, but yeah, and that was the thing. So she did never try to censor the world from me, but she did try to she did curate my world to be a black world. So to kind of put me at the center of it, right?
Yeah.
She always tells her stories. One of her labor of love stories is like, on that note of cartoons, because they didn't have any, she made a slideshow. She would like take pictures of different things and make these like Black History slideshows, and me and that she would bring to the elementary school, and they would use so we could have some
Yeah.
kind of visual with whatever history we were getting. We were at protests.
Wow.
We were at art events, you know what I mean? So she just kept me immersed in our culture,
Hmm.
and put that at the center. So it wasn't like, oh, this is just something for
Yeah.
Black History Month
Exactly.
or for Kwanzaa, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
No, this is a year-round
Yeah.
thing, and don't ever let anybody make you feel like you're less than. So she
Yeah.
gave me the tools to call out racism and sexism.
Yeah.
She was also very adamant about raising a son with some sensitivity,
Mm,
and not necessarily trying to be prove my manhood all the time
exactly.
and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
Now, um so she was just a very kind of it was a complete mission. I think she did a great job of just keeping me and my big brother um in feeling like we were moving in purpose
Yeah.
for our people.
Yeah.
Even when we went to a freedom school in San Francisco, a all black elementary school called Meadows Livingstone. But then even when it was time to leave that school and we started going to private schools and whatnot, it was never, oh, because this is better. It was like,
Hmm.
nah, you on a
We're
mission.
just elevating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you got to go get
Yeah.
that knowledge so you can bring it back, and you know what I mean. So it was it
Yeah.
was it was all part of a bigger game plan, to be some kind of tool or medium for liberation, not just for myself, but for whoever I'm around and just my
Yeah.
people. Period. And
This is the thing. She didn't just do that for y'all. She did
yeah,
that for a community.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, to not and again, not to be romantic, I of course have slipped into toxic trait.
Of
I mean,
course.
I'm from
Yeah.
the city, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And you grow up where you grow up and some of those things, but I always had a kind of moral backbone and
Mhm.
compass to return to
Yeah.
and to kind of judge to know when I'm fall okay, like this ain't
Exactly.
this it's
This ain't
not
it.
what I'm
This
yeah,
ain't it.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Well,
So
well, you
you
talked
know,
really quick though. You talked about movement though, right?
mhm,
Think of movement. Your mother really empowered you to use your body as a part of your storytelling.
for sure.
How did that early relationship with movement kind of influence how, let's just say, how you perform today, right? Huge component of Table 17, but on stage, on set, and really in your life, you know,
Mhm.
how did she empower the use of body?
Well, I would say that, capoeira classes. We used to go to Capoeira, very, very much, and I'm part of the hip hop rap generation or whatever.
Yep.
So she got us to copy a Beat Street,
Come on.
and used to let
Come
us
on.
cut up in the living
Mhm.
room. So it was dancing, moving, even marching.
Yep.
When you
Yep.
don't want to, she'd
Yep.
take us to the person like, "Man, I'm
You
tired.
like,
I'm trying to go." I'm like, "Nah, we gonna finish
come
this march." You know what I mean? So the physical your physical presence, and I mean, as you get older and philosophies around protest and how reactionary it is, we could wax about that, but essentially to know that your body in space has meaning, and even without words, can be a powerful
on.
tool.
Yeah.
And even I mean, even to learn about the sit-ins, and Rosa Parks not getting up,
Hmm.
from the bus, and again, my freedom school I went to, we did the capoeira classes. We would go perform for other schools.
Wow.
I've taken some African dance here and there. I used to play basketball, so when I got my growth spurt, my dancing ain't what
You
it
like,
used
it's
to. You know what
on.
I'm
It's
saying?
on. Right.
But it's yeah, the to kind of just to be in your body, was also important, for
Yeah.
sure,
Well, San Francisco, though, has shifted. It has changed as a lot
Oh yeah,
of cities, right?
yeah.
It's evolved. It's done many different ebbs and flows. As it's dramatically changed over the years, what pieces of the old city kind of live inside of you, right? Because I think we always think about just our hometowns, right? What parts do you kind of carry into every room?
Well, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with the revolution, and
Yeah.
anybody that's really, really from San Francisco, Oakland, Richmond,
Mhm.
Berkeley, like Vallejo, wherever, if you really are from the soil, I feel like the revolution, the love of people, your people, but really all people
All people.
too, because
Yeah.
we don't discriminate in the Bay. We really do. It's a
You
way that
don't. You don't.
cultures just
Yeah.
can come together in the Bay like nowhere else. But for the black side of things, I think a lot of us in the Bay, that's a big part of what connects us. We greet each other in a way that like nowhere else. It's Southern. It has some Southern influence, but it
Yeah.
also has some radical
Yeah.
influence, and your radicalism, my radicalism, has been an equalizer at
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
It can be a little easier to break up a fight
Right.
in the
Right.
Bay
Right.
Area. You know what I mean? It's a little easier to look out for a stranger in the Bay Area. For the elders to look out for the young to look
Mhm.
out for the elders. And also to resist. We might not be so quick to comply
Yeah.
with when the harassment comes around or whatever,
Yeah.
we don't necessarily tuck tail, and sometimes in a way that's very frightening. I've seen a couple of my good friends on live confront the police, and I'm just like, oh, wait, brother, don't do it,
You're like, please
but
don't, y'all.
but
Please.
um but
Yeah.
it's necessary, and it's beautiful to watch because somebody has to stand up.
Yeah. Well,
and I often see my peoples in the Bay Area standing up in such a beautiful way. So I think it's just that culture of resistance and that just that openness and that love,
yeah.
that's what stays with me. And I think, when you see people who aren't from there, that's how you know they're not
Yeah.
from there because they just
Hmm.
don't, they're grounded in,
The vibe is a little different. The
yeah,
vibe.
the vibe is a little different. They're more grounded in their job than the
Yeah.
soil. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They're more grounded in the things they can do than the people they're connecting with. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, everybody got to do what they got to do. And of course, this world is meant to be traveled. So no one place is for no, not one person. It's for everybody. You know
Well,
what I
listen,
mean?
I want to talk about travel. Hello.
Hmm.
To
Hmm.
travel to Bosnia. I want to touch on it.
Okay,
I
okay, let's talk
I
about
think
it.
when we think of youth speaks,
Yeah.
before acting, there was poetry.
Yes.
And for you,
Yeah.
the Youth Against War conference in Bosnia, I think was groundbreaking when you think of just your world. You were literally just a teenager at
I
that,
was,
right?
yeah, yeah,
You think you were using your voice inside international conflict spaces.
yeah, it was I mean, that trip, one, I mean, God, I want to talk about how beautiful it is, but it was also not traumatic in a way where like I'm a victim of some kind of trauma, but to see war,
Yeah, to
you
see
know,
war.
to see uh buildings that had been bombed
Hmm.
out that looked like a giant just was walking through there and knocking
Hmm.
buildings over, to
Yeah.
see multiple blocks that looked like, they pushed the whole city down in a toaster and
Hmm.
overburnt the buildings and they popped back up charred. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
to see people who had prison tattoos on them, to meet, you know, young women who had been the victim of all kind of traumas and
Yeah.
assaults and sexual assaults, to meet men who were forced to fight, at the
Hmm.
age of teenagers, and just it was it was surreal, but it was also very real,
Yeah.
and for anybody to condone any kind of I think war or oppression, you know, they've turned off a piece of their humanity.
Yeah.
They
I
have,
thought really quick, I thought about something as you were speaking
yeah.
about your mom, and sorry to interrupt you. In this moment, I thought of you as a child before going to Bosnia and you guys marching. Did
Hmm.
any of those moments kind of like mirror, like, so this is the reason why we were marching? This is the reason why we do what we do as a community. And mom, thank you for opening my eyes to this different spaces to reason. Because, I think there are times as kids, we're like, oh, our parents are just saying it just to say it, whatever. But actually,
Yeah,
now
yeah.
you to be in Bosnia and to your point, seeing the war and to see the devastation of life happen, right? Did that even
Hmm.
kind of think of in your mind? Like, and really, I think the question is really, what did those early stages kind of teach you about the weight of a young Black voice carrying in like a global conversations?
And it's amazing you said that, because now, I mean, I don't know if I put it together like that then, but and maybe I even took it for granted, but to hear you say it, it's like, yes, that was in fact implanted in me, because I never for a
Yeah.
second questioned whether I was the truth,
Right.
like
Right.
out there. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
knew that this hip hop, this poetry, this this thing that I was sharing with these kids out there, and we were workshopping to get them to write and
Yeah.
perform as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
I knew that was the truth, and I knew that was not the only answer,
Mm.
but an answer to the problems,
Right.
a solution in of itself. Of course, there are political and economic things above the reach of
Yeah.
youth poetry. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But what the youth poetry does is it changes generations before they can, before they comply
Ex-
to, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and um but I often, I just know I was super privileged.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just often found
Let me
myself
ask you a question. Privilege,
Mhm.
what aspect? Privilege
just
because
to,
mother
well, I
gave
mean, I don't,
you.
I don't know if privilege is the right word, but empowered.
Yeah.
I say
Yeah.
I was empowered in a way that most kids aren't.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, and I, just to skip around a little bit. I remember one time I was just in a conference when I was getting my teaching diploma or whatever. I was doing this program in New York. It was like a semester where you get to play grad student and you student teach and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just learning about education. And I remember I had a breakdown in the bathroom because I realized just how little chance most of my peers had.
Yep.
And,
Yeah.
and so it wasn't that I was privileged. It wasn't that I was special. It's just a lot of my peers didn't have a snowball's chance
Hmm.
in hell to succeed or grow or you know because they were never empowered that way, and they definitely
But
weren't
you
exposed to the resources.
correct. There you go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so and then to put the extra layer to go somewhere like Bosnia and you put the extra layer of war on top of that,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
it's like not only is your future unstable because of your economy or whatever, now the next day you don't even know
Hmm.
if the next day is going to come.
Correct. Exactly.
And what do you do? What can
What can you
you survive.
Yeah.
You survive. And but hopefully after you survive, we can help give you some tools to maybe, because we all can't afford the $1 million therapist, but art is therapy.
You had the
You
million.
know, exactly.
You had your mother. And so
Yeah.
I want to tell you, when you said privilege, immediately the light turned on for me because you did have privilege. You had a mother that provided
Hmm.
you the footsteps and the blueprints on this is what, when it gets crazy, this is what you got to do. And this is
Right.
how it feels. And now that you're in the space in the moment, like Bosnia, to actually see it in real time, wow. I want to go into a quick question and then I want to finish. Brandon, who was at one of your shows, I think one of the opening shows, wrote in because he heard that you were going to be on the show and he actually has followed your career. He says, what is the first poem you ever wrote that scared you because it was too
Mhm.
honest, too bold, or too exposed?
Mm. You know, I don't, I don't, I don't know if I have a poem that I felt like something I felt like I couldn't share
Yeah,
or,
yeah, yeah.
you know, just honestly, I don't know if, I don't know if I ever, I don't think I have one because it was just coming out of me and I was spitting it. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, so it wasn't that, some kind of shame or, I might go back and read some stuff like, whoa, you actually said that
You
or
like,
what, you
really?
know what I mean? But,
Okay.
I think because and also and this is kind of like a sub topic, but if the poetry my poetry was political, my poetry was like history, it was like it was a liberation tool and then also like a style point, you know what I
Exactly.
mean? so
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't know if I was necessarily like excavating my innards and kind of in a way we more do with theater, you know what I
Correct.
mean? So
Yeah,
now
yeah.
like there's some roles that have scared me. There might be some moments, in where I've had to deal with myself and learn about myself. I would say more of that work and kind of thing has come in the
And
theater and on film and
okay.
just acting where because and because also that I was actually never trained, maybe if I was trained and I had poetry classes and
Uh,
I had a teacher who could kind of help me get to that.
okay.
um but I think some of that more deeper work. Now, I will say, actually, more recently, probably some of the things I've written and talk about in writing have gotten more personal and closer to that. where I might have dealt with my own fear. I have a poem I wrote a couple years ago during a few more than a couple years ago during the pandemic, where it's really about like double conscious and just
Mm,
how a trauma can happen to you, which kind of causes you to split and kind of get
mhm.
outside yourself, and
Yeah.
now you almost like two people now instead of one.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and but I think as a teenager, I wasn't doing that kind
Yeah.
of work yet. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
The thought
And
process wasn't really there yet.
yeah, the thought process wasn't really
Yeah.
there yet. Yeah, it was, it takes it well for some people.
It takes life.
It takes life and it takes time to let your guard down,
Hmm. Well,
and
you
to
did
be
this though.
vulnerable.
What I was gonna say, really though, you did that because your path is unconventional. It really is. And I think when you think of African American studies at Brown University
Hmm.
and a master's in teaching, as you said earlier, but then also a history teacher at Berkeley High, then an MFA from the National Theater Conservatory. What was the moment for you, Biko, that you knew you needed to leave the classroom and really return to your own creative calling?
It was wow. It was like my second year teaching, and I was just really depressed. I was
Mm,
really depressed, and it wasn't because of the kids, like that
yeah.
was always the easy part.
Okay.
But it was like life and just the 9 to 5 of it all, and
Hmm.
I was just like, and I had quit smoking, and I remember I came to my mom like I don't know what to do, and she was like, well, try acting. You always enjoyed that, so why don't you
To
just go
have your to
go
have
do
your
it.
mama.
Oh
To
yeah,
have
for
your
real.
mama.
No, for real. And
Wow.
even when I started getting to acting, she was like, "Well, I did kind of tell you back in college that maybe you should take some acting class, but but they hit me with that I told you so,
Right.
but it was that, and as soon as I just went to a local class, and it completely, the teacher of that class was like, whoa, who are you, what do you want, like I'll work with you, I'll help you, like we need
Yeah.
to. And
Yeah.
that's L. Peter Callender, who was a associate artist at Cal Shakes, became the artistic director of the African American Shakespeare Company, a brilliant actor, Broadway, off Broadway, every theater
Right.
around the country,
Yeah.
settled in the
Yeah.
Bay Area doing the thing, and he just took me under his wing and just gave me some tools to, start pursuing it and get,
Wow.
and it really it changed my life. I met all these new kind of people, a new passion, a new, just a new purpose,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
really an old purpose because it was
Yeah.
connected to the
Yeah.
poetry. It was because I've always been performing. I'd always had a presence on stage. I just didn't have the
Hmm.
technical know-how. And you
Hmm.
and you know how it is in the community, because again, it's like even in college, we're blind to so many things. A lot of time we go to school, the majority of Black folks go to school for medicine
That's
or
it.
business,
Yeah.
or to be a lawyer,
Yeah.
and when you a young kid in high school playing ball, and the whole thing is, you play ball and you go to
Hmm.
college. The
Hmm.
arts is not
You're like,
really,
I
yeah,
don't know if that. They always say that's not a lucrative career. I don't know if
yeah,
you
it's
make
not a
money from
lucrative
it.
career. It's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
it's not a real thing, And I mean, I had a drama teacher in high school who was like, "No, you should go to Juilliard. You should." And I was like, ain't that a ballet school or
You
something
was
like
like
that?"
that.
Like,
They do dance, right? That's
yeah,
dance.
yeah.
You like
I had
no.
just didn't have, and this is at the best school. I went to a private high school. I went to Brown. But
Yes.
but so it wasn't it but when you're so locked into whatever, I'm on my political trial. I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna get my teaching thing. I'm gonna get my, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna teach the hood. Like that
Yeah.
was the game
Yeah.
plan, and that's what I followed through on. Um, and I still teach and try to do workshops and
Mhm.
reach back however I can. Because that's still important. When
Yeah.
the youth, it's always important. But it was just, I mean, when you're an artist, you got to be an artist or you
You do.
implode.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
did.
and that's kind of what happened. I was imploding, you know, and so I had to get into myself and my craft
Yeah.
so I could be a little freer and lighter to really give back more, you
Well,
know.
I mean, as you give back though, the National Theater Conservatory is rigorous, right? When you
Very
think of
rigorous.
when you think of that though, and so many people want to go through this program, what did that level of discipline unlock in you though?
Oh, it just unlocked a beast, you know, and I mean I'm always proud of myself because I will say, you know, the National Theater Conservatory was a very Eurocentric,
Mm-hmm.
patriarchal,
Mm-hmm.
you know, program that had very stiff definitions of what drama
Yeah.
is and the right way to do things. And so it's a program I definitely survived, and I survived by being more disciplined. It was like, oh, you don't think I'm a lead Shakespeare
You're like,
role? You know
watch.
what I'm saying? So let me go. I studied on my own. I went to the library. I watched every single Shakespeare play with the book in hand, reading the lines as I watched it. I got people at the professional theater, the Denver Center that was across the street. I was grabbing mentors from over there, like, watch me do this. Like,
All right.
my teachers don't want to give me feedback.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
Harvey Blanks,
Yeah.
may he rest in peace. You know, give me feedback. Watch this monologue and give me feedback. You know, um, I made it a point and you know, so not to, you know, pop the collar, you know, I just played Hamlet this summer.
You
You know
did
what I
just play
mean?
Hamlet this summer.
And
Absolutely.
that's a little flex on them. You know what I mean? Not to, so you got to send something at the haters every now and then. But
You
it's
really,
like
I mean, listen,
my
you got to
teachers
show it
didn't,
a little bit.
they didn't set me up for that. I set
I
myself
felt
up for that.
myself up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why. So you know, when you know, and again, I learned tools. I learned from every teacher I had,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I learned because I was in the class pulling the knowledge. I
Correct.
was not a student that they were
Absolutely.
invested in. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And a lot of black people that went through that program could probably say the same thing. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? So I always like got to kind of throw that in there when that school is mentioned because I'm not like they didn't nurture the artist in me.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was something that I had to do. But it did, as you say, it taught me a rigor. It taught me how to show up. You know, the proverbial you got to be 100 times better and all that. You know,
Yes.
it
All of them.
was it was all of that. You know, because it
Yeah.
was a Monday through Saturday kind of school. You know, we were in there all day, every day working. You know, I had some great there were great people in all the classes, you know, other great actors that I could watch, other students. So
Mhm.
there was also a lot of watching, you know, because they didn't
It
want to give me
was.
too many opportunities. So I was also watching and seeing what I, you know, stealing what I liked and
Absolutely.
leaving the rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just it taught me a rigor, which then again I went and taught my friends and people I you know, so it's
See?
like, oh, you might not have to go to a program, but just get hip to this, get hip to this,
Yep.
get hip to this,
There
and
you go.
just know this is the amount of work you're gonna have to do to make
Mhm.
this happen. You
Yeah.
know, and then of course you get to New York in the professional world, and that becomes a whole different kind
Oh,
of rigor.
different kind of
You got to
exact.
learn a whole new
Yeah.
game,
Yeah.
and you know, so you just you always learning,
Yeah.
you
Well, and
know.
I think you did a beautiful job with saying, even though they counted me out, I've always counted myself number one. And I think so many people
Exactly.
hear that because the reality is there are a lot of places that may not teach us. But I think so many people use it as a crutch sometimes. Or if they're not going to teach me, maybe I'm not going to learn it. We have so many devices, so much opportunity, so many mentors and mentees that we can sit back and watch sometimes and just say, got it. I can learn from them. And to your point, curate pieces from them to actually add on to what I need to fix. But I think also asking those questions on, like, hey, look at my performance, as you said, and what do I need to shift? What do I need to change? Right? Because you see it in a different lens than I see it. But I think of Table 17 immediately. And I think of
Hmm.
the soft and the responsibility of representation.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so many more layers to Table 17 than what a lot of people actually really see. And
Yeah.
your stage work is powerful.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to constantly say that. And at Table 17, um, you know, the production really does resonate with audiences because it explores Black tenderness. It explores Black grief. It explores Black Hollywood, Black becoming, Black love, all of the things. when you step into the roles that speak so directly to Black interior life, what responsibilities, Biko, do you have, or do you feel that the community to the character in the craft?
Oh, well, it's as just to show uh, basically what you just said, that we're not just one dimensional.
Yeah,
We're not just, we're not just we're not just tough, or we're not just players, or we're not just I think with Dallas has such a huge heart, and
yeah,
he has so much softness, and he's forgiving, and he's loving, and he's charming, and but he's also
but
prideful.
he's very prideful.
He's also
Yeah,
prideful. He's very hardworking. He's very, he's very rigid. I mean, I feel like backstory stuff is, the audience can come up with their own backstory. I, of
yeah.
course, come up with my own backstory. But to me, the highest compliment is when somebody after the show tells you you remind them of someone in their family. You
Really?
know? Yeah,
Okay.
and I love that after the show, it's like, man, you reminded me of my uncle, or oh man, you reminded me of like my first love, or something like that, because it's like that's what we're trying to capture, like
Mm,
full-bodied human beings. And it's a as black men, I was talking about this on the Frogs podcast. It's like I often see shows and I see brothers work, whether it's on TV, film, movie, theater, whatever. And the description of the performance is always just so like brief.
hmm
I'm
hmm
like, man, that brother was working though. Like you didn't see the complexity, the vulnerability, no, it's just like, oh, he was very smooth. And it's like, nah, y'all not seeing us. And I mean, that's also been one of the beautiful things about this experience in LA, and so many black people coming out and
Mhm.
appreciating the work and the complexity of the
Yeah,
work, the
yeah,
technical, the emotional, all of that. Because I think we all felt a responsibility. Douglas wrote this beautiful piece, and
yeah,
he wanted people to see themselves in it.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
just black folks, everybody. He wanted people and also to find community in this
yeah,
space, to
yeah.
sit next to a stranger and talk to him, to
I
just
was sitting next to a whole stranger, and now I'm about to hire her to be my lawyer. Literally,
exactly. See,
literally gonna hire her to be.
and that's literally part of what this play is about. One woman hit me up. She was like, "Yeah, I was sitting next to this stranger," and I was like, "That's kind of the point of the play." And she was like, "No, no, I loved it. He was so cool. We friends on Facebook now."
Absolutely.
So it's like that's part of the thing. And again, I think the sincerer and the more multidimensional we are
Mhm.
on stage,
Yeah,
the more the audience has to meet us with. You know what I mean?
absolutely,
And the more that
absolutely.
they have to connect us with. We have so many interesting conversations after the show. You know,
Hold on, before you go
yeah,
there,
yeah.
after the show, shout out to some amazing people of mine, Sterling K. Brown and the beautiful Ryan, and shout out to Jesse and Journey. I mean,
What?
all we see is all of
What?
y'all lined up at
Oh
the
my,
end as
listen.
phenomenal Sterling K. I remember talking to Sterling and Ryan at a premiere a couple of weeks ago in Santa Monica. What was that moment like? Did y'all even know that
It
they were
was
there?
it no.
I love it.
No.
I
Well, yeah, well, yes, yes. Somebody told me that he was coming, and that yeah, yeah. Somebody told me he was coming, but I don't read reviews. I don't
yeah,
want to
yeah.
know who's coming,
I
and
don't want to know.
especially with this show, because it's been so beautiful and kismet. It's
Mm-mm.
like I don't want some article to you
Yeah,
know have
yeah.
me thinking about something, or notice some person from some whatever.
Right, right,
I
right.
don't want to know. I just want to do the show and
Go home.
vibe out.
That's it.
And but when he came and spoke to me, it was surreal, because he's one of my favorite. I told you, and it's like, and that's the thing. I'm forget my show. I'm trying to give him his flowers,
Right, right.
And he's like, nah, hold on, let me tell you a little something, and we had a quick conversation, but it was, I cherish it forever, because he's a goat, and he's not just a goat because of uh the things he's accomplished, but he's actually a brilliant, brilliant
So brilliant.
actor. You know,
Yeah.
like when you talk about, like, again, when you talk about these performances and you see the little, it's like, man, did you see what he just did?
I'm just saying.
Like each
I'm
time
just
he's
saying.
whatever project he does is so singular, it's so beautiful, it's so great. Like he's just amazing. So yeah, to for him to see the work and love it was it just meant the world. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? That was, you know, and then yeah, to see Journey and Jesse was like, what? Like where this is surreal.
This is
It's,
surreal.
it's surreal, you know what I mean? Because they're also both extremely talented. You know, I'm a huge
Yeah.
Lovecraft fan, you know, all the way back to being a youngster watching Eve's Bayou, like whatever, you know, like I'm a huge
Saying
fan. I was a huge fan of Jesse on Empire, you
fire.
know,
Yeah.
so talented, great actor, great singer, all of that, you know, and honestly, I was so caught up in the moment, I didn't have time to like give them their flowers as
Yeah.
well. But like shout out to both of them just for being brilliant, you know, and being fixtures of in this community. You know what I mean? Latanya Richardson and Sam Jackson came
Mm-hmm.
the other night.
Mm-hmm. They
You
did.
know, also they love the show. You know, so it's just been
It's been a beautiful labor of love,
it's
honestly.
been
I
so
want you to
beautiful.
honestly just think about this moment, right? Like for you, Biko, what has Table 17 changed you as a man?
Well, it's definitely opened me up. You know, Dallas is so fly. I'm not the type of brother to just walk in a club and start dancing to anything. You know what I'm saying? So, but even that and giving yourself permission to be that free,
Yeah.
you know, is
Yeah.
beautiful. So it's giving me permission to be free. It's giving me permission to put some of the judgment down, you know.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to do it twice. You know, the first time I did it, it was interesting navigating like the talking with the audience. You know, I would get defensive at times. I couldn't believe how mad people got at me at the end of the show.
Uh,
You know what I
they
mean?
they
Like
booed you.
and
They booed you. They booed
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, just for the audience, they wasn't booing because it's a bad show. They was
No, they weren't
booing
booing for a bad. No, no,
because
no. They
there's
were
big
booing because
drama
of the
going
situation.
down. You know what I'm
It was the
saying?
situation, y'all.
Yeah,
Y'all got
yeah.
till Friday. Friday, I
Yeah,
believe, to see this. Yeah,
Sunday. You got till
Sunday.
Sunday. But
Yeah.
so handling all of those things, you know, and you know, because when you're an actor, you're the lawyer, the
Yes.
therapist, the dentist,
Yes.
you're everything for your character, and you defend your character to the death. So you know, just navigating that, because I do take the work home. You know what I'm just one of
Do
those
you?
people. I
Okay.
don't some people can turn it off and on and something, you know,
Okay.
I'm constantly thinking about what I'm doing. So it was hard to not take it personal.
Mm.
And
Okay.
you know, but again, that's just me. I'm a Cancer, I'm sensitive, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as that kind of rolled off me and I just got more in tuned with the mission of the play,
Okay.
you know, which is always the answer to
It's
everything. Like
always the answer.
get
Yeah.
off of
Yeah.
yourself and
It
get
has nothing to do
and
with
it's
you.
about the thing you doing and
That's it.
don't, you know, just and so just to grow in that way as well as just an actor, um to grow technically as an actor because of the rigor that this show
Yeah.
requires, the
Yeah.
movement, the dancing, the running around stage, the dropping in and out of, you
The
know, go
changing
from,
of clothes. Y'all are changing clothes
you
like
know,
a drop of a
changing
second.
clothes,
Yeah.
staying focused and grounded emotionally when everything around you is going berserk. I
Yeah.
mean, you know what scene I'm talking about.
I
You know,
do.
it's like I gotta stay in this
You do.
mode
You
while
do.
everybody else gets to go. And they should go nuts.
Exactly.
They're supposed to go nuts, but it has nothing to do with what I'm
It has
feeling,
nothing to do with your
you
feelings.
know. and
Yeah.
and I gotta barrel through that. So there's so many challenges that have grown me as an actor that, you know, I've just come to really love and enjoy and still dread,
Of
you
course.
know,
Because you're human. You're still
yeah,
human,
yeah,
you
you know,
know?
still breathe through it and you know what I mean. But it's just such a special piece, you know.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for, you know, usually with plays, once they get to a certain point, and
Mhm.
then the whole world starts doing
It's
it.
like,
You
exactly.
know, so
Yeah.
I can't wait to just pull up at some theater and just see different
You
actors
like,
doing this play. You
like,
know what
I
I
did
mean?
that.
Because it's and just I just hope it's gonna activate theater goers for decades to come. You know what I mean? Because it really is a special show like that, and the stuff it deals with, these problems are
Say
from the beginning of time. I
it's
just
it's
read this
it's
poem from Egypt. It's from like Egypt from like 3,000 years ago, and it said something about like I'm sick and I'm dying. My neighbors come to see me with the doctor. She also came with them, and she knows and she's the only one who knows that I don't need a doctor. I just need her, right? It's something. It was like something of that nature, right? This really like
right,
clip
right.
poem from, but it's like this been going on for three
This been
thousand years,
going on.
forever, and it's gonna keep going on because
Mhm.
humans love and love is messy. So it's just a,
Humans love and love is messy. I need you to get that on a t-shirt. That is
and
all right.
I think that's also another big lesson from the show is just to like take the judgment out
Yeah,
of whatever. Stop judging people
please.
and
Yeah.
stop judging yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and like what happens when you assume positive intent, and what happens when even if you think something is wrong, it's not necessarily an attack on you.
Right.
It's just what reality is,
It is.
and how can you live in love through that as
Hmm.
opposed to closing off and boxing
Yeah.
up, and you
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get into some quick Q&A because we got to get ready to wrap. And
Hmm.
I love these questions because these are people that have really followed your career and have appreciated, the footprints that you're setting for yourself, for other people to follow, and also the shoulders that you stand on. This question comes from Chris, and Chris is out of Atlanta, Georgia. He says, Biko, you approach Shakespeare differently. I'm sorry, do you approach Shakespeare differently than contemporary Black work? Or is it all the same emotional truth delivered through different forms?
Yeah, the latter.
Okay.
I mean,
Uh,
yeah, the latter. It's yeah. Shakespeare is just a little harder because you got to get the words right first.
right?
You know,
Yeah.
but you should be doing the same amount of work on every line is a universe.
Every
You know, I got that from Ron Cephas Jones via Carrie Young.
every
Every
line.
line is a universe, you know. So whether it's Shakespeare, whether it's August, whether it's table set, whatever, every single line is a universe. Dig in. No limit to how much you could dig in, to how far you could fly.
Monica from Miami says, Bigo, is there a role on stage that you're still chasing? A character you haven't met yet, but you can still feel that it's coming if you feel like sharing.
I've always wanted to play Malcolm.
Ooh.
Always wanted to play Malcolm.
Ooh.
Um, you know, playing Hamlet this summer was on the bucket list for sure. Um, and yeah, you know, I would love to do some August Wilson. I haven't gotten to do
Hmm.
August Wilson yet. So I would love to do some August Wilson. And yeah, but I'm also still looking for that role that just, you know,
Yeah, that
that just yeah,
yeah.
you know. I mean, I've done them before. You know, you never know when it's gonna come. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was in a play called Soft that was just amazing, by Don R. Love, and you know, but roles like that, I just like beautiful, rich roles. You know.
Yeah. Um, I want to get into some Q&A. And as we get ready to wrap our show, I curated this last part called the therapy session. And with yours, I wanted to make a little bit more fun. And the first
Okay.
part is first things that come to your mind. Nobody ever knows. We are in your episode segment 312. We've done 300 episodes, which is absolutely crazy since 2000.
Yeah, congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you.
That's
When you think,
work. That's that
let me tell you
consistency.
something. That's that consistency. If you could have dinner with any three people,
Oof.
dead or alive, who would they be?
My great grandmother. Oh, you're gonna make me cry. My great grandmother, my little bro Willie B, who passed away, may he rest in peace as well. Um, and Malcolm X. We'll go with that.
What is a book you could read over and over again?
Ooh, ooh. Um, hmm, let's say, hmm,
I know it's
so many. That's a rough one. What's my favorite book? Wow, that's a tough one. I would say Beale Street, James Baldwin.
Ooh, I was about to say a James Baldwin piece.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was really just scrolling through like I was like
Yeah.
kind of going through authors. I was kind of going back and forth, but there's something about that book that's just
Ooh.
so good.
It is something about it. Yeah,
It's
no,
so
it
good.
is. Um, what's the most interesting documentary you've ever watched?
Hmm. Hmm. I don't know. I might have to take a sip on that one. I'm not much of a documentary person, but oh, you know what? There's a documentary that just came out about this there was kind of a Black Wall Street
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing in Arkansas
Absolutely.
that happened and where there was a big kind of takeover basically and a lot of these big and powerful farmers in Arkansas right now actually kind of murdered and stole to get their land, and there's a documentary which I cannot think of the name right now, but I saw it in Oakland. I can't think of the name right, but I just had never heard the story before, and it really exposed like the current farm industry for how much it owes not just to slavery, but even to free folks who were just completely robbed and disenfranchised. And
Yeah.
I can't think of the name of the big farming companies right now too. They lucky for that, but
What is a childhood memory that always makes you smile about your great grandmother?
I didn't know her.
I mean your grandmother. My
My
apologies.
my grandmother, ooh, uh, I don't know if it makes me honestly, my grandmother passed away when I was very young.
Mhm.
So the memory isn't my memory, but my mother has a memory of me kind of comforting her in her hospital bed.
Wow.
That was like a fond memory for her, but I actually don't have that memory. It was I was too young, I don't remember. But
Who's the, who's been the biggest influence in your life?
my mother and my big brother.
What is
My big
suc-
brother.
what does success look like to you?
Success to me, to me, it's like happiness. It's rigorous. 312 episodes.
Listen.
It's running table 17. City to city. It's finishing this play and going to set somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's success is being able to do what you love and be with the people you love in a safe and comfortable way.
As you get ready to wrap Table 17 this Sunday, um, Biko, you have had the opportunity to be in the atmosphere of a mother and a grandmother that have provided blueprints and platform of what life feels like. San Francisco gave you the tools necessary on what does it feel like to be a part of community. Um, a radical mother and politics of really just becoming and being able to have your words being able to be spoken out loud to so many people in war zones and youth speaks from crafting and training transformation at Brown to Berkeley High and the National Theater Conservatory. Your television and film roles are magnificent, and you've really highlighted the idea of what visibility feels like. And then the softness of Table 17 and the art of really building new worlds on stage. Biko, what do you want your legacy to be?
Hmm. I it's you know I feel like it's not for me to decide. I
Okay.
mean, if I can stand in that truth that you just so beautifully, then that I'll take it. You know what I mean? I mean, just to be, but to be remembered as someone who fought for freedom, who made art for freedom, who loved his people,
Mhm.
a solid cat, funny, little goofy, little funny, you know what I'm saying? Keep it popping, whatever. Like I just, as long as people smile when they say my name,
Mhm.
and for the people who don't smile when they hear my name, love to y'all too, I'm, let's rectify it while we still on planet Earth, like I don't know, but I try not to really get too caught up in that. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because it's like that's not in our control.
Yeah.
Right. What's in our control is what we do with each other here and now.
Hmm.
How the next person speaks about it. In some ways it's almost like I feel like the more good you do, you might not have a legacy because unfortunately in this world, they try to erase the strongest legacies. So that you know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
not gonna hear about the baddest slave revolts that
Correct.
happened. You're not gonna hear
Very.
about the people who really took it to the man. You're not gonna hear
Yeah.
those stories because they don't want them known. Um, I was just watching a meme, the brother who made Chicago is a Haitian brother you
That's great.
know and they
That's
only
great.
got like one statue of him like right on
Yeah.
the river, so then it's a little statue, and he founded the whole city, and the person in the meme was talking about how like now we got ICE tracking down Haitian people on the street. It's like what sense that make, right? So but I just say that to say that some of our greatest legacies are the ones that actually just had an effect.
That's it.
So if I can have an effect greater than just something people celebrate as a holiday, but there's something that's actually pushed the world forward, I'll take it. A powerful unknown legacy. Um, I mean, let me get mines though. Come on now, let
I
me
was
get
gonna
mines. I
say.
ain't trying to, let me get
You
mines.
deserve the flowers.
Yeah.
Listen, any last words you want to leave with any of your fans and followers and people that still want to see the play or follow? I've seen the play. Any last words you want to leave?
Oh, just please, please, please come see Table 17 at the Geffen, starring Gail Bean, Michael Rashan, and myself. Beautifully written by
Beautifully written.
Douglas Lyons, incredibly directed by Jalen Livingston, and, just put together by the most awesome creative team, Ben on the lights, Jason on the set, Chris on the sound. We just got such a great team. So just come check us out. You got till Sunday. And if you in San Francisco on the 13th and the 14th,
Come
come to
on.
the Bayview Opera House on 3rd Street. It's a reading about the 3rd Street riots in San Francisco, and it's happening right where the riots happen. That's
Wow.
on the 13th and the 14th, 7 on the 13th, 2 p.m. on the 14th.
I love it. Listen, everybody, make sure they go to the Giffen Theater Playhouse. December 6th is the last day for Table 7. I'm sorry, December 7th is the last day, Sunday,
Mhm.
Table 17. And I want everyone to make sure that they follow Say Biko on Instagram. Make sure you
Yeah.
check out his websites and all of the things. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your footprint. Thank you for your service. Thank you for you. Thank
Thank
you
you for
for all.
having me. Thank you for
Absolutely.
the kind, uplifting words.
Absolutely.
I,
And as
I
always,
don't, I don't take it for granted.
thank you. As we always say on Power 97.5 LA, iHeartRadio, and iGlobal Media, stay positive, but stay creative. Until next time, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Always.